This is DP with Nerdy Jerks. Jumping back on here. I went live the other day just to talk about some of my camera equipment and some other things in general regarding like sports videography and recruitment and all of that. And I wanted to get back on here to correct some things that I said about one of the cameras I have, specifically the frame rates about the Canon 90D. Um, this is one of my favorite cameras. I did get a mirrorless camera. This is a DSLR APS-C crop sensor. Um, I did get a mirrorless, but I do still take this with me on um, some of the shoots I have. Um, Mainly games, football games, basketball games. So that's generally what I'm talking about is sports videography right now. Um, so the frame rates for this, you can shoot 4K, and I believe it's up to 30 frames per second, 4K, and I think that's uncropped. Um, I believe it does 20, 24, and 30 frames per second in 4K. Definitely the highest, I believe, highest frame rate is 30 frames per second. But you can do full HD at 60 frames per second with this. And you can also do 120 frames per second. But once you go to that high frame rate with this, um, you lose the autofocus. So that's the caveat with the slow mo high frame rate at 120. But you can go to 60 and 120 full HD with the 90D Canon 90D. Um, and again, you can shoot 4K. So I did get a mirrorless camera, and I'll probably talk about that one in another video. But um, a lot of folks are talking about how DSLRs are dead. You got to go to mirrorless cameras and all that, and both have their advantages. One of the main um, advantages I believe with this one over the mirrorless camera I got is the battery life. I can actually get an extension on this to add two batteries, and I've actually taken this on not just sports shoots, but also I've done some short films for one of my boys. I've shot some footage for him, Tower City Entertainment, um, a couple short films for him. Maybe I'll throw his link in the description of this so you guys can check him out as well. It's my boy Barry Fantroy. Shout out to Barry with Tower City. Um, but yeah, I've used this camera on some work with him on some short films, and also again for sports videography. This it does have a good autofocus system. It's been doing pretty well for me on the jobs I've done with it. Um, so I wouldn't say just disregard DSLRs. I wouldn't say that they're dead. There is obviously the wave of going to mirrorless systems. Technology is moving toward, mirrorless. In DSLRs, folks are considering them to be, I wouldn't say obsolete, but moving to a thing of the past. But DSLRs are still some very powerful cameras. It just depends on, in a lot of cases, or in probably every case, the user and how you're actually using it, what you're using it for. Um, but for me, when I've taken this on, let's say like just shooting football, for example, the autofocus is quick enough to follow these players. I use it in combination with, I think I have the lens over here. Um, if it's at night, I generally use, one second, this Tamron 70 to 200 f2.8 lens. I use this at night for night games. Um, and I've used this in combination with the 90D, and it's done pretty well. I've posted some of the footage I've shot with this on both Instagram and on YouTube. Um, and I also have actually another Tamron lens. I like Tamron lenses. This is a 70 to 210, and it's f4. So as you can see if I can put it up here for you guys. The 2.8 versus the f4. So the 2.8 definitely heavier. It's a little bit bigger. Um, I use the f4 during the day. It does pretty well during the day. When it gets to night, night sports, and sometimes these fields have bad lighting, I generally do not use this when I use the f2.8 version. Um, but this gives a little bit more focal length. It goes up to 210 versus 200 for the f2.8. So it does give you a little bit more focal length, but both are good. Both are good lenses. In the daytime, sometimes I'll go to f4 with this one, depending on how the sun is shining. If it's beaming off of artificial turf or something, and maybe I didn't bring a filter for my lens or something like that. It just all depends. There's a lot of factors when you get out and you're trying to shoot some sports or anything for that matter. Just the scenery could make you have to do things differently. So but I do use both of these lenses, and I do still use the Canon 90D. um and again, I didn't want to misinform people, so the live I had before, um I took that down because I gave some incorrect frame rates for the 90D. So I just wanted to get on here and make sure I was giving out the correct information.